Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and we are continuing with a look back at the 1978 science fiction television series Battlestar Galactica, the original Battlestar Galactica, and we're at episode number 11 right now, which is called The Young Lords, and it's got a simple premise. While on patrol, they run into some Cylons, and Starbuck's Viper is damaged enough that he will not be able to make it back to the Galactica. So he sends Boomer out for getting help, and he crash lands on a planet called Attila, which used to have a lot of humans living on it. Again, this is some sort of colony which was established a long time ago, and I don't think they actually are aware of who's currently living there. But the residents of Attila do know about the colonies, and they do know about the colonial warriors and all that stuff. So Starbuck crash lands, and his leg is injured. He is so the planet Attila used to have a lot of humans. A group of Cylons landed over there, led by one of the the IL series, much like Lucifer. This one is called Spectre, and they basically kill off almost all the humans except for one family. The mother is killed, but the father and his 5 children are still surviving, and they have a huge, almost like a castle kind of thing. In the it's like a woods countryside. It's kind of reminiscent of a castle that is there somewhere in England or in France or somewhere like that. So you have forests and jungles and and like a river kind of thing, that's a river that is running through it, and at the end you have the castle. So the father is captured, and the Cylons have taken over that particular castle, and his children, however, are very they are well versed with fighting techniques, and they are able to do a lot of damage against the Cylons. And even though they're pretty young, the 2 boys are pretty young. There's a girl who's probably around 13 or 14. The boys look like around maybe 11 or 12. The youngest girl is around 13. There's the 2 teenagers. One who is the older boy. I forgot his name. Adrian. Sorry, not Adrian. I think his name is Robus, I'm not sure. No, I think Robus is the boy. Kyle, that's his name. Kyle is the oldest brother, and the teenage girl is played by Audrey Landers. Her name is Miri. And then we've got the 3 younger kids. So they notice that Starbuck's Viper crash landing. He is captured by the Cylons. However, the kids come and ambush them, and they kill off all the Cylons, rescue Starbuck, and take him to the cave that they're staying in, and treat his wounds, give him food to eat. However, even though they seem to be enamored by the fact that they've got a real life colonial warrior among them, even Kyle is pretty, seems to be pretty, respectful of the fact that Starbuck is a colonial warrior. However, he has an ulterior motive, and he forces Miri to go along with it. He wants to give up Starbuck, and in exchange for their father, to the Cylons, and thus rescue the father, who's been captured and is in prison into a room on the castle. However, both Miri isn't happy about it, as well as Starbuck. When he finds out, he tells him it's not a good idea. They realize that they're being tricked. So they come up with they leave. They escape at from the rendezvous point where they were supposed to do the exchange. The Cylons go back on their promise, as well as the kids also are convinced by Starbuck to make sure that they don't actually exchange him and not get their father in return, which would be a waste. So they come up with a plan where Kyle basically decides that he doesn't know enough, and he isn't mature enough to actually lead the team. So he asks Starbuck for help, and he says, I would relinquish my command to you. So Starbuck comes up with a plan, which is a very, very odd, funny thing. Again, there's a lot of cheesiness involved in this television series, but yeah, so he comes up and in order for them to not forget the plan, they put it in kind of like a song section, almost like a poem instead, where everything rhymes. And they sneak into the castle. The kids manage to put up bombs in strategic places and detonate them, destroying the most of the equipment and the Cylons, fuel and supplies. And towards the end, a lot of them are destroyed. So the Spectre, who's in charge of the garrison, decides that he leaves the planet. He is in contact with Baltar and Lucifer, and he initially tells them about the fact that they've captured Starbuck, but because he was rescued, he tells them that Starbuck is actually quite injured and is going to take some time. He leads them to believe that, he doesn't actually tell it Starbuck, he just says it's a colonial warrior. He leads them to believe that Starbuck is dead, and the fact that they destroyed the rest of the humans, they're destroying the planet, the rest of the planet, and because the atmosphere isn't really helpful for the metallic bodies, they decide to, they ask permission to actually leave. In reality, they're running with their tails between their legs because the kids, along with Starbuck, are able to cause a lot of damage. So they leave, and the kids are happy to have their father back. They're happy to have their home back, and they decide they want to stay. By this time, Boomer and Apollo have reached, and they find devastation of Cylons, and then the Cylons have all left. And when they see that Starbuck, along with this group of kids, have actually done all this damage, they are quite surprised. Minnie and Starbuck have obviously a romantic thing going on between them, although she is kind of young. And he says that if you were to come back to the Galactica, you would break a lot of hearts on there. But the family decides to stay back, and they think that the Cylons aren't going to come back, which probably is true. So the father says he and the family are going to stay back, although they offer to take them along with them. Which brings me to the fact that this is probably one of the worst fathers in the entire world. So even though they do have their castle back, and they're all reunited, how is he going to provide a suitable lifestyle for the kids? Everybody else is destroyed, so they basically don't have anyone else, just them. Of course, they might have enough to actually forage into the woods to get fruits, plants, and maybe wild animals that they can kill and cook. So they're not going to be devoid of that. But yeah, it's just them. There's nobody else. So why would they stay back? It doesn't make any sense at all. But yes, they do stay back. The other interesting thing to note of is the outfits that these the family on this planet are wearing. The boys basically wear like these furry kind of things with, especially Kyle is wearing this helmet with almost Viking style, not horns, but more like wings kind of thing. Minnie, of course, is dressed as provocatively as possible for a show of that time. And the kids, of course, are very similarly dressed like Kyle. So that was very odd. I'm really surprised at the fact that the fact that this small group of family with 3 young kids, all under the age of maybe 14, plus Kyle and Mary, could actually do a lot of damage against the Cylons. In that case, Cylons mustn't be, they're not that dangerous at all, right? If they can do all this kind of thing. So, towards the end of the colonies, the dad does explain that our ancestors originally migrated here from the colonies. So they do not actually ask them, they wouldn't know anything about Earth, but they are asked if they can actually go along. There is a scene of, a little bit of bonding between Adama and Boxy. Adama is sick, and he's been ordered to rest in bed, but Boxy sneaks in and, sleeps with his adopted grandfather, and they try to tell stories about Earth. That was kind of sweet. So again, the human presence on Attila will eventually die out, so that's one of the oddest things about, and there are several things about the series that didn't make sense to me. Still, I do love the series quite a lot. I'm just telling you the things that I don't agree with, and that didn't make any sense. But yeah, a lot of other things are, and they just all, six of them, all of them are from the same family. So how they going to, anyhow. So there are some on the wiki page. There's some questions. So why are the Cylons basically hunting the humans, even though it seems that there are humans living everywhere else? Of course, this particular planet Attila, all the humans are killed except for that one single family. Their mom was killed, but the rest of them have survived. And the other thing is, the question is, when the colonials encounter a planet such as Attila, which was populated a lot by humans, why don't they become more inquisitive about the human inhabitants? But yeah, since there's only that one family left, shouldn't they ask a little bit more? And Spectre is supposed to be one of the first IL series, and there's a little bit of jealousy between Lucifer and Spectre, because Lucifer doesn't think that Spectre's line of IL series robots of Cylons should actually be as superior as he is, and it's kind of like comedic that the way that Spectre actually butters up Baltar quite a bit, basically brown-nosing him, and Baltar of course falls for it, hook, line and sinker, just like somebody of his ego would. And that's one of the comedic aspects of this show that I really liked. So that's basically it. The show, this episode is pretty straightforward, nothing much into it, other than the fact that it's kind of cheesy. The song that they sing is kind of like silly as well, but it was actually fun. So I would give this particular episode a 7.5 out of 10. It's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. So that's it for me for tonight. Take care, and I'll see you again pretty soon.